So here we are. It's finally here. Zack Snyder's just... Duh! No. That is not Zack Snyder's Justice League. That is Justice League. That is an abomination and should never be spoken of ever again. Just... no. Okay, I say that, but I am going to be comparing the two in this video. But after today, I will never speak of Justice League ever again. So here we are. It's finally here. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Zack Snyder's 4-hour behemoth of a film, and I loved it. I loved almost every second of it. It's not perfect, but I mean, there is no such thing as perfect when it comes to films, but for what it is, I really enjoyed it. There are a couple of things I personally would cut out and change, but other than that, I loved almost every second of this film. Now, some people may say that this 4-hour version of Justice League is the same thing as Justice League, and they would be mostly wrong. The only real similarity that Zack Snyder's Justice League has to Justice League is that they follow a similar plot. The main difference is that one of them is actually allowed to breathe and uses his runtime effectively, and the other is an unfunny, horribly edited piece of shit. The main thing about Zack Snyder's Justice League is that although it follows a similar plot to the 2017 cut, this film has a consistent tone and spends its runtime effectively exploring and developing its characters, so that by the time the film ends, you feel emotionally connected to them and you feel their personal victory. The whole first hour of the film is dedicated to introducing us to our main heroes and exploring the world post the death of Superman. Now, I will give Justice League some credit here. I do really like the montage at the beginning of that film exploring the world, mourning Superman, to the cover of Everybody Knows by Sigrid. I really loved that sequence, and I thought that it was done effectively in that cut. But when you see what Snyder does with that concept in Zack Snyder's Justice League, you can't help but just appreciate it. It takes its time and it breathes and you understand what's going on. You see Lois mourning Clark. You see Martha lose the house. You see the world's reaction and the escalation of terrorism through the Wonder Woman action scene. And you see Bruce Wayne trying to assemble the Justice League. The film opens and gives you the impression that it wants to be a big, globe-trotting, sprawling epic, and to me it consistently carries that tone throughout. Literally every plot point in the 2017 cut is done infinitely better in the Snyder Cut. Batman trying to recruit Aquaman. It's done infinitely better. Though I will say, the scene where the women start singing as Aquaman descends into the waves is just a really weird scene. It felt really out of place. Like, I get the idea that it's meant to be they see him as a god, but it reminded me of Eowyn singing at Theodred's funeral in Two Towers, and even then I thought that that bit was out of place in that film as well. It was really strange. The Themyscirans trying to keep the Mother Box away from Steppenwolf was again done infinitely better. Like, you actually felt like they actually, suffered trying to keep the box away from him. Like, they dunked the tower into the water and you think, okay, yeah, they've defeated Steppenwolf. And then he jumps out and, starts chasing after them. It's so much more impactful than in Justice League where, like, they close the gate and they think that somehow keeps Steppenwolf at bay. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Granted, there's too much slow-mo in the Snyder Cut sequence, but I appreciate it so much more than in Justice League, because this one actually felt, impactful. Also, when Hippolyta goes, "Daughters of Themyscira, show them your fear!" And then they all respond, "We have no fear!" So good. Wonder Woman taking down the terrorists in London was done infinitely better. The Age of Heroes sequence was also done so much better. That sequence actually felt epic and, was on the scale of Lord of the Rings, and I loved it. Though I will say, it is a little bit confusing how Darkseid forgot that the planet he was defeated on was Earth. Like, I thought that was a really strange inconsistency. Barry Allen's introduction was also done infinitely better. Though I will say, I do think you could cut out his introduction scene because apart from it being a big spectacle moment and, establishing that Barry is obsessed with Iris, it doesn't really do that much for the overall film. The rescuing of the hostages under Gotham Harbor is done infinitely better. Superman's resurrection is done infinitely better. The final battle, okay, you get it. Everything is just done infinitely better. But one of the major improvements from the 2017 film is that in the Snyder Cut, you actually understand Steppenwolf's plan. In Justice League, his plan is so poorly explained. Like, all he does is just appear on Earth, tries to grab all the Mother Boxes, tries to form the Unity, and then just starts, running around screaming about Mother and the Unity, and it's really weird and confusing. Like, the film expects us to know what he's actually talking about, but in the Snyder Cut, we're told that the night Superman died, his scream sent shockwaves across the universe, awakening the Mother Boxes, which alerted Steppenwolf to their location. Steppenwolf then came to Earth to collect the Mother Boxes, form the Unity, which then in turn would destroy the Earth and allow Darkseid to invade. Steppenwolf is also shown by the Mother Boxes that Earth possesses the anti-life equation, which then makes it more clear as to why Darkseid wants to invade Earth, because he's searching for anti-life. Also, the film actually allows us to emotionally connect to Steppenwolf when we actually understand why he's doing what he's doing. He basically wants to get back into Darkseid's good books after betraying him and owing Darkseid 50,000 worlds to conquer. And so he thinks by just taking Earth, the planet that Darkseid was defeated on, he'll get back into Darkseid's good books. And since the Snyder Cut that actually takes its time in, telling us the villain plot and telling us the villain's motivations. We're actually allowed to understand the stakes at hand, so by the time the third act rolls around, we actually care. And the final battle is awesome. It's so full of tension, and you actually feel like the fate of the world is on the line. In Justice League, the final battle just felt so empty, like there wasn't really any stakes. Well, aside from that random Russian family who lives in a nuclear wasteland. Why is there a random Russian family living in a nuclear wasteland? But in the Snyder Cut, you have Aquaman and Wonder Woman trying to hold off Steppenwolf while Cyborg tries to separate the Unity. You have Barry running around really fast trying to build up enough speed so that he can charge the mother boxes, which will allow Cyborg to enter it and separate them. You have Batman taking out Parademons effectively, and when Superman joins in the fight, he doesn't just join in, beat up Steppenwolf, and make the rest of the league look useless, he actually serves a purpose. Like, yes, he keeps Steppenwolf at bay, but he doesn't make the rest of the league look completely useless and incompetent. And the sequence after Barry gets winded and, has to heal, and the league essentially lose was insane. Like, the boom tube opens, Darkseid and his armada show up, and you go, oh, they are fucked. And then Barry has to run into the Speed Force and reverse time so we can actually get there on time so Victor can separate the mother boxes was insane. It is one of the best sequences in the film. It is so great. Like, I'm sitting down, I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, what executive at Warner Brothers wants to cut this? This stuff is amazing. Why in your right mind would you want to get rid of this? Yes, Ezra Miller runs a little bit weirdly, but I don't care. The whole scene is just so cool. Like, it just felt so comic booky, and Zack Snyder's interpretation of the Speed Force is so breathtaking. It feels like another dimension, Barry's running, and as his feet touches the ground slowly forms under his feet. Like, that is visually impressive. Ultimately, the film does end in the same way the 2017 version ends, but with some added scenes. The Lex Deathstroke scene on the boat is so much better in this version because Lex actually tells Deathstroke Batman's real name, and it actually made me really want to watch the Ben Affleck solo film where Batman would fight Deathstroke. I just want to see that. That just sounds so sick. And the new Nightmare sequence was kind of cool, but it was kind of unnecessary. And you can tell the only reason why it's there is because Zack Snyder wants to make Justice League Part 2 and 3. But on the other hand, you can tell that this is additional photography and the style just doesn't match the rest of the film. That being said, I did enjoy seeing Ben Affleck back again as Batman, actually talking and facing off against Jared Leto's Joker. And you know what? I didn't hate Jared Leto's Joker, but I still didn't love him. Like, he's fine, but I don't think he's given enough material for me to actually fall in love with this version of the Joker. But I can see his potential now as the Joker, and I do want to see, Justice League Part 2, where it's essentially, Batman in the desert, in this wasteland, with his group of rebels, fighting evil Superman and Darkseid. Like, the Nightmare world is so interesting, and I've read the storyboards for Justice League Parts 2 and 3, and I really just want to see it because that film actually sounds amazing. But also the reveal that General Swanwick was Martian Manhunter was cool, but also kind of random. Like, if he's been here since Man of Steel, what has he been doing? Why is he hiding as this general? Like, why didn't he get involved in the Steppenwolf fights? Like, whilst I like seeing Martian Manhunter, it did just feel completely superfluous. And I know at the end it was supposed to be 2 Green Lanterns showing up to Bruce Wayne's house instead of Martian Manhunter, but Warner Brothers said no, and so Zack went, okay, I'll just bring in Martian Manhunter. But it just felt really random and out of place. Like, what has Martian Manhunter been doing this whole time? Now, one of the things I couldn't help but notice when watching this version of the film was the differences between this cut and the 2017 cut. There were a lot of things in the Snyder Cut that I thought was shot by Joss Whedon, but it turns out was shot by Zack Snyder. Like the Hall of Justice tease at the end. I thought that was Joss Whedon, but it turns out it was Zack Snyder. The "Hi Barry, I'm Diana" exchange, I thought was Joss Whedon. But the most baffling changes that Joss Whedon made in the 2017 cut was all the things between Clark and Lois on the farm. Why did he change the line, "You spoke" to "You smell good"? Like, that is terrible. I am, convinced that Joss Whedon purposefully sabotaged the 2017 cut, because I get that he was under, time constraints to make it under 2 hours, but there were just so many changes he made that just felt like mean-spirited jabs at Zack Snyder that were just unnecessary and totally uncalled for. Like, why add all the random lines in the farm scene? Why do the CGI mustache? Why was Death itchy? Why did he make Batman look like an absolute fool? What is brunch? Okay, I won't lie, there are a couple of lines I do wish they kept. Mainly the line where Bruce is talking to Aquaman and he's like, "Arthur Curry, I hear you talk to fish." Like, to me that line is so comic booky, and I know that's a Jeff Johns mandated line that he wrote and Snyder shot but he didn't keep, but Joss Whedon kept in. I kind of wish Snyder kept it because that is a very comic booky thing, and I did like that line. But ultimately, when it comes to the story of Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League is by far the superior film. Batman Batman in this film was not what I expected. I really liked Affleck in the role, and no longer was he goofy and bumbling and an absolute fool like he was in Joss Whedon's film. Here he had a sense of urgency and purpose when it came to putting together the Justice League, and he actually just felt like Batman. I will say that there are moments in this film where he feels a bit too cheery, and I couldn't help but feel a bit of a disconnect between Affleck's portrayal of Batman in BVS and his portrayal of Batman in Justice League. Like, he seems to have lost a bit of that cynicism and darkness from BVS, and I won't lie, I kind of wish he kept some of it. Like, I know that Superman's sacrifice personally touched him and made him want to become a better person, but there were some moments where he just felt a bit too happy. Like, the main moment I think of is when he's like, "Faith, Alfred, faith!" Like, to me, that just didn't feel like Batman. Also, call me crazy, but didn't his voice modulator sound a little bit different from the one in BVS? Like, in this film, there's less of the reverb and bass, and I don't know, I missed it. Don't get me wrong, I really liked Affleck in this film. He reminded me a lot of, the Batman from the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, but it's just, there were moments where I was like, oh, he's not dark enough. I miss dark, broody Batman. But other than that, I really like Batman in this film. And call me crazy, but I really like the goggles he has on the tactical suit. Like, I don't know, it reminds me of Night Owl, and I think that's really cool, and I kind of dig it. Wonder Woman was awesome in this film. Zack Snyder managed to capture the warrior princess aspect of the character whilst also maintaining, the compassionate, optimistic character that we saw in the 2017 film, and I loved it. I've heard people complain that she was killing the terrorists in the museum sequence early on in the film, and I was really confused with that complaint. Like, she's killing terrorists who were threatening and keeping children hostage. Like, I don't get the complaints. Soldiers do it all the time. Heck, even the Avengers do it. In Civil War, when Black Widow shoots those two mercenaries who have the vial of poison in front of a crowded, area, people don't complain about that. But, oh no, as soon as Zack Snyder does it, oh, it's bad. Zack Snyder doesn't understand superheroes. I don't get the complaint. But Gal Gadot does do a good job in the role, but she does have a couple of weird lines in the film. Like when Steppenwolf just goes, "This one belongs to me." And then it cuts to her just going, "I belong to no one." It felt really random and out of place. I will say I wasn't a fan of Gal's narration during the Age of Heroes sequence. She's basically, explaining the story to Bruce, but for some odd reason, the way she's delivering those lines during the narration, it sounds like she's reading a story to children. Like, does she think Bruce Wayne's a child or something? But at the end of the day, Wonder Woman was a badass in this film. Like, when she cuts off Steppenwolf's head as he's going through the boom tube, like, that was so sick. Jason Momoa as Aquaman was good, but I feel like he doesn't really get a lot to do in this film. He mainly just, walks around, broods about, not belonging anywhere. And then he gets involved with the Justice League once Steppenwolf takes the Atlantean mother box. Now, Momoa is charismatic and likable as the character, and I do like him. He just doesn't get a lot to do. But there are moments where, he's really fun. Like, when he's helping Barry to decide which hat he should wear when they're breaking into the base. Like, that is great. I really like the line where he walks into the Batcave, he looks at Alfred, and he's like, "It's badass, Alfred." And I like that he was the main voice of reason for not bringing back Superman. It's just that, compared to everyone else, I feel like he just doesn't get a lot to do in the film. Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, the Flash in this film, was so much better than he was in Justice League. Like, infinitely better. It seemed like Joss Whedon told Ezra Miller to exaggerate every single one of his lines to the point where he came across as really obnoxious, but here in the Snyder Cut, he comes across as a lot more believable. His overall arc is the same in the 2017 film, but here in the Snyder Cut, it's actually allowed to breathe more. The scene where Barry tells his dad that he's got a job at a crime lab, his dad just keeps repeating, "His foot's in the job." It was filled with so much warmth and heart, and just, I loved it. Like, props to Billy Crudup, who played Henry Allen. Like, I think it really sucks that Billy Crudup got recast as Henry Allen in the upcoming Flash film because of scheduling conflicts, because, like, I really wanted to see more of him. Like, he was so good. Now, I think it is arguable that Barry gets the best scene in the film. The whole Into the Speed of Force scene was so great. Like, he runs in, he's like, "Gotta go fast, Barry, gotta go fast. You've never been faster than the speed of light. Gotta break the rule." And he just charges off and, like, enters the Speed Force. It's just visually stunning. Ray Fisher's Cyborg was essentially the heart of the film, and I completely understand why he was so mad about most of his scenes being cut in the theatrical cut. All of his best scenes and his whole character arc was essentially destroyed, which is ridiculous when you look at the bigger picture because Cyborg is essentially the heart and soul of the film. Victor Stone had such an understandable grudge against his father that you actually understood where he was coming from, and he felt like he had turned him into a monster. But as the film goes on, you realize that he's only lashing out at his father because he feels broken inside, and he doesn't actually hate Silas Stone. The thing that I found most impressive was that they took the whole, "my dad didn't show up to my football game" scenario from the New 52 origin, but it actually made sense. It didn't feel contrived or melodramatic. But to me, the resolution of Victor's arc was beautiful and incredibly satisfying. When he enters the Unity to separate the three mother boxes as Cyborg, when earlier we'd seen him enter a similar mindscape as, Victor Stone, whole and complete, and then he separates the mother boxes saying that he's not broken and he's not alone, was so powerful and so beautiful and just, it was incredibly satisfying. So I've saved the best till last. Henry Cavill as Superman was everything I wanted and more. I loved him in this film. He has roughly the same amount of screen time as he does in Justice League, but in this film he doesn't feel like a Deus Ex Machina. When he's brought back to life and he's with Lois on the Kent farm and he's, walking around reminiscing, you actually see him start to appreciate the little things, and I can't lie, I got a little bit nostalgic towards Man of Steel because he looks out the window, he's sort of just like, I loved it here. And then we see the swing set from Man of Steel, like, so good. And then the little moments where he's, in the fields and he's like feeling the leaves and he's playing with the butterfly added so much to Superman's character. It added so much, cheeriness and humanity, and he was just appreciating the little things, and I just went, that's Superman. Like, I loved it. Now, earlier I said the Into the Speed of Force scene is arguably the best scene in the film, and the reason why I say arguably is because I think I loved Flight 2.0 even more. To me, it just felt like we'd actually come full circle with Superman's arc from Man of Steel to Justice League. When he's in the Fortress of Solitude and he goes to get the black suit, and we hear Jor-El and Jonathan Kent's lines from previous films basically sum up his character arc in the DCEU, like, I loved it. In Man of Steel, he stands proudly against the human race. In BVS, he stumbles, he falls, but by the end, by choosing Earth and Lois as his world, he essentially, becomes that ideal of hope they need to strive towards. And in Justice League, they joined him in the sun, and I loved it. He then walks out of the Fortress of Solitude, he puts on the black suit, he charges up, he flies off into space, and they play Flight from Man of Steel again. Like, I got chills, I got goosebumps, I was crying, I loved it. I got so nostalgic for Man of Steel, which is crazy considering the film came out less than 10 years ago. Holy crap, it's been 8 years since Man of Steel came out. Like, Warner Brothers, what are you doing? Where is Man of Steel 2? But when Superman joins the final fight, I went crazy. Like, he stops Steppenwolf's axe with his shoulder, unflinching, looks at it, not impressed, ice breaths it, shatters it, like, oh my god. That was so sick. That was Superman. Like, I don't need Superman to, start making quips going, slowpoke, or is this guy still bothering you? I don't need that. I just need him to show up, look cool, maybe say one or two little remarks, not full-on quips, get the job done, and that's it. Like, I mean, everything he did in Zack Snyder's Justice League, I loved, and I couldn't help but, tear up a bit. That's Superman. I will say, I do have a couple of teeny tiny gripes with Superman in this film. I wish there was an explanation as to why he was wearing the black regeneration suit from the comics. Snyder says, yes, it's the regeneration suit from the comics. It helps him absorb the sunlight quicker and heal faster, but it's not in the film. He just takes a black suit and that's kind of it. I also don't like that he keeps the black suit by the end of the film when he rips open his shirt. Like, to me, that should always be reserved for the red and blue suit. I know in Snyder's original plans, he wanted Superman to earn back the red and blue suit. He was going to keep the black suit to basically embrace his Kryptonian heritage because Clark Kent was still quote-unquote dead. But personally, I just wish he went back to the red and blue suit by the end of the film. And finally, and this one is a nitpick, and I didn't even notice it until somebody pointed it out, but Superman, when he returns and is, fighting with the Justice League, doesn't talk to anybody on the Justice League. It is so weird, but, like, ever since someone has pointed it out, I go, oh crap, that is weird. He doesn't talk to anyone. That is... huh. So this film is scored by Junkie XL, who co-composed Batman v Superman, and I have to say, this is probably my favourite Junkie XL score, because aside from his work in the DCEU, I found a lot of Junkie XL's work to be very forgettable, but with Zack Snyder's Justice League, I found a lot of his music to be very impressive. Things like Wonder Woman's theme being reused, but also with the additional ancient lamentation music, like, I loved it. It was very 300 and very Witcher-esque, but I will say, the film overuses it a lot. Like, way too much. Like, I love the every time Wonder Woman appeared, like, that was cool. It's just that the film uses it way too much, where the more you keep hearing it, the more you go, okay, this is cool, but it's getting a lot less cool because you keep playing it. Also, a little musical detail that I kind of love is that when Hippolyta fires the arrow and, like, they're banging on the war drums, the beat is the Wonder Woman war drums, and I think that's great. It's all like dun 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 dun. I thought that was really fun. The Age of Heroes / the Justice League theme is great, and I like that the Age of Heroes theme is used as the Justice League theme, basically cementing that the Justice League are the new, Age of Heroes, and I think it's It's so good and it's memorable too, like the dun, 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 dun. Like, yeah, it's great. So the music at the speed of force sequence is so cool, like, it's so ethereal and whimsical and just, it's so badass, like, it's not the CW Flash theme, and I love the CW Flash theme. But for what it is, it's such a cool piece of music. Okay, my one issue with the score is that I did miss Affleck's theme. Like, his theme from BVS, the dun 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 dun. It wasn't in this film. Okay, no, I say that, it is. It's in the scene with Lex and Deathstroke, that it plays out that scene. But that theme is reserved for Batman, and Batman wasn't in the scene. Like, Junkie XL gives Batman a new theme. It plays when he's on the rooftop of the GCPD on that gargoyle when he's talking to Gordon. And it's like, it's nice, but it's not the Batfleck theme. But I saved my favourite pieces of music from the film till last, and that is everything with Superman. Like, Superman's music in this film was amazing. Not only did he bring back the melodies from Man of Steel, but he also made it feel heroic and epic on the scale of the John Williams theme. It's more bombastic and it's more optimistic, but it's not the John Williams theme. Like, don't get me wrong, I love and adore the John Williams theme. It is a masterpiece of music, but I don't need it to be used for every iteration of Superman. Like, when the theme appears in Justice League or in Shazam, I can't help but cringe a bit because Hans Zimmer already made a masterpiece of a score with Man of Steel. He already gave Henry Cavill Superman a theme. Why do you keep rehashing the John Williams theme? He doesn't need it. And Junkie XL with Zack Snyder's Justice League proved it, because all you have to do is just take the melody Zimmer made and make it more epic, bombastic, and optimistic. And that's what he did. When Superman shows up to fight Steppenwolf and it plays the melodies from Flight in a more heroic way, I lost myself. It was amazing. The dun, 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 dun. Like, that's what I need. I don't need the John Williams theme, I just need Henry Cavill's Superman theme. Like, everything Junkie XL did with the Superman stuff was everything I wanted and more, and I couldn't help but just be more pleased because I loved it. Now, a little bit of a nitpick I have with the score is that there are times where the music feels a little bit out of place. Like I said earlier, Wonder Woman's Ancient Lamentation music, that was played way too often, but also the scene where they're under Gotham Harbor and they're walking up the stairs and this random, like, riff that starts playing, the dun 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 dun, it just starts playing and then stops, and I'm like, that was weird. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the riff. It's edgy and it's sick and it's really cool. It just starts and then stops, and I'm like, that's a really weird choice with the score. I mean, it's cool, but huh? But aside from that, I love Junkie XL's score in this film. It is so good.
I don't care how many demons he's fought and how many hells. He's never fought us. Not us united.
Overall, I loved Zack Snyder's Justice League. But at the end of the day, I couldn't help but just be a little bit annoyed and pissed off with Warner Brothers because, like, who at Warner Brothers, when watching what Zack Snyder was doing, just went, this film is completely unwatchable? I don't understand that. Why did they need to fire him? Like, I don't get why Warner Brothers let Zack Snyder film his Justice League film, then remove him from the project, then bring in Joss Whedon to essentially film additional scenes that didn't need to be filmed, wasting more money, adding in terrible jokes and making the overall film a complete farce, when all they had to do was edit down this 4-hour behemoth into a theatrical length film. Like, if this film was edited down to like 3 hours, like the length of a Lord of the Rings film, for example, you put that in cinemas, you'd pretty much still get the same critical and audience reception. I don't understand why they spent so much money for something that didn't need to be fixed. But yeah, my ranting aside, I love the film, and I want to see the Snyderverse continue because, I mean, from the storyboards of what Zack Snyder had, released, I was very much looking forward to a Justice League Part 2 and 3, and it sounds awesome and amazing, and I want to see it, so restore the Snyderverse. But yeah, that is what I thought of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I loved it. But what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe and all the good stuff. Hit the notification bell down there. My social media links are down in the description, so if you give those a look and a follow, that'd be very much appreciated. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.